Alright, this can be considered my first hot take while being on this channel, and it could be considered a very unpopular opinion and just a very out there observation. And before we get started, again, I want to ensure you that this is just my opinion. If you feel like the Celtics have the best opportunity and the best chance to get out the East, that's fine. That's your opinion. If you think the Raptors have enough pieces to advance out the East and go to the finals, again, that's your opinion. If you think the Bucks can get out the finals and represent the East in the finals, that is your opinion. But in my opinion, I have the Philadelphia 76ers coming out of the East and representing the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors. But before I get into why I feel like the 76ers will make it out the East, I'm going to tell you why the other teams I just named will not. And to start off with the Boston Celtics, I already made a video covering the Celtics issues, their problems and whatnot recently. So if you want to go check out what I said about Boston, I want to recommend you to that video. But to properly go down the list that can realistically get out the Eastern Conference and go to the finals, I'm gonna start with the Bucks and go over why I don't think the Bucks will come out the East. But currently the Bucks right now are the best regular season team in the Eastern Conference. They're first place in the East, which is surprising to me because before this season started, I didn't think they would be at the top of the Eastern Conference. I thought they would kind of be more mid-tier, but I still thought Giannis would have the year that he's having right now, which is incredible because I have him as a runner-up to the MVP so far. Currently, as we speak, I have James Harden winning the MVP and going back-to-back, but that's not to take away anything from Giannis. He's having a spectacular year, but the real reason why I don't have the Bucks coming out of the East is because I don't trust anyone else on that roster when Giannis is being triple teamed, double teamed, to find their own offense, create their own shot, and really help Giannis when he needs it. I don't trust a Chris Middleton, even though he's a really good role player for Giannis. He's an all-star player, but you gotta be honest, he is a role player. And when I keep looking at the roster going down, I don't trust Eric Bledsoe in the playoffs. If you remember last year, he didn't even have a good series. Everybody remember him getting cooked by Terry Rozier. Let's be honest about it. And statistically, he's even having a worse season than last. So how can you expect him to perform even better than what he did last year? It doesn't make any sense. So overall, what I'm trying to say with the Bucks is when the playoffs come and when teams can game plan specifically for Giannis, it's going to be harder for him to score. So he's going to need that help from the other guys. But those other guys really never got in that position to produce in those type of situations before. That's why it's going to be hard for me to look at the Bucks and take them seriously when they get to the playoffs. But now getting into the Raptors, who I feel like can put on the better fight against someone like the Sixers in the Eastern Conference. They have the star power, the overall star power that the Bucks don't have. They have Kawhi Leonard, who I feel like is the best player in the East. They have Marc Gasol, who is aging, but he's still one of the best centers in the league. And they have Kyle Lowry. And I know Kyle Lowry in the playoffs, those two words don't combine well. But you gotta take into account that he's playing a whole different role this year. His shot attempts are down, his assists are way higher, and he's not really relied on to score as much. They also have one of the best players in the league in Kawhi Leonard, who I feel like is not getting some of the MVP considerations that I think he should be getting. Like the Raptors are the second seed in the East and he's putting up great numbers, but nobody's really talking about him in those MVP type talks. They also have three versatile bigs in Pascal Siakam, Serge Ibaka, and Marc Gasol. But with that all being said, I don't think any of those teams really compare to Philly. Now, when you think of Philadelphia, the Philadelphia 76ers, you want to talk about their weaknesses, you want to bring up depth and their lack of shooting. But to be honest, I feel like the Sixers kind of solved these problems. Not all of them, but most. When they acquired Tobias Harris, that helps your shooting, correct? When you bring in somebody like Jonathan Simmons and Boban to your bench, that improves your depth. And even when you get to the playoff teams are not playing their whole roster. They're going to cut some of the bench lineup and go with a smaller number of the rotation, either an 8-man lineup, a 9-man lineup. So when you bring up depth into the playoff discussion, it really shouldn't really matter like that. And even if depth was the biggest issue here, there's no reason why the Sixers couldn't stagger the rotation. The Sixers legit have about 4 all-star type caliber players on their team, in Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. If you're so worried about depth, you don't have to play them all together every single time. You can play Jimmy Butler with the bench. That might even be a better idea. Not full-time, because we know Jimmy Butler has been complaining about not getting enough touches, like how he had in either Chicago or Minnesota. So that might be beneficial for him. You always want to keep Ben Simmons and Embiid together, so maybe you exclude them. But there's no reason why Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris can't be playing with the bench sometimes. And even if you're still worried about not having enough depth, there's still players in the buyout market. Go get Carmelo Anthony. As many jokes that get thrown around about Carmelo, Philly's probably one of his best destinations. He fills a role that the team needs, which is scoring off the bench. So if you're still worried about that before the playoffs hit, go sign Melo. It's very low risk, and if it works out, very high reward. But if you enjoyed this video, again, it is very, very important that you hit that subscribe button. We're on a journey to 100 subscribers. And if you want to be on that journey with me and with everybody else, hit that subscribe button. Like the video. This has been Moneymack, and I'm out.